What's up? Welcome back to The Checkout. It is the podcast where I gathered a group of people that I would start a company with if I could pick anybody to start a company with. And since they're all too busy to start a company with me, I decided to do a podcast with them. Bart, I kind of want to kick to you for this first topic of today because you put this in here. Um, the Skims, Kim Kardashian and Skims Nike thing. Maybe, for anybody who doesn't know what's going on there, recap what the deal is there, and then jump us off. Tell me what your thoughts are and what you want to talk about there.
Yeah, I just think she is unstoppable. We saw, or most of us did saw like Kim start Skims and mainly a brand for and a line for women, and then moved into the NFL and introduced a men's line, and then like I don't know, I think a lot of people when they build brands, they always I think it's a little delusional, but like compare themselves to what Nike is doing
Mm-hmm.
and like Nike wouldn't do this or look how Nike's doing that. Let's make sure we're closer to that. But then like to actually get to like the what I would say is like, you know, probably top three pinnacle of brands to actually partner with. Um I don't know, it says a lot of things. I think obviously like celebrity power has a lot to do with it, but Nike also doesn't just step out to work with non-athletes too often. And so to take like we always use the word creator. Kim's obviously a much bigger person than just a creator. She's built like multiple empires, but it does kind of go to show like if you are a creator, influencer, a person of interest, or any kind of talent, you can get up to these levels of working with the Nikes of the world. And I think there was a little chess move there of like doing the NFL guys stuff and getting more athletes involved in Skims and then moving into actually doing a women's line for Nike.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it'll be a bit more expensive, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, you felt kind of the shockwaves of that partnership announcement throughout the internet because it's just huge, and it's like, okay, where could she take this thing to next? It's like, are we gonna have Skims iPhones or something? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Okay, Bart, one of the big things I'm seeing a lot in Facebook ad accounts these days is a lot of spend on product catalogs. And I'm really, really seeing this a ton in apparel and clothing. I'm curious how much of your budget is going toward catalog?
Yeah, we have really good product photography. So a majority of our spend recently has been going to catalog ads. 40, 50, and sometimes 60% is going
Mhm.
into catalog ads, DPAs. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of great results from it.
Yeah, even just going catalogs to cold audiences. One of the issues, though, of course, with catalogs is that you can't stand out creatively. Like you can't, it's just your product photos.
Yeah.
So like I think we've solved for that in an interesting way with Dad Gang, with our partner Marpipe. So can you just kind of break down what you're doing with Marpipe to try and get better results out of your catalog ads?
Marpipe was able to come in and kind of mix up our creative a lot. We kind of felt like we were cornered into this. You can only show white background images or whatever's on your Shopify site, and they were able to come in and bust out a bunch of variations of that catalog, adding copy or adding various backgrounds or even simple things like price. Before that, we were just kind of held to white background. Here's the hat, and here's the copy of the ad. Whereas now that creative can showcase a lot more about the brand to a cold or a remarketing audience.
Yeah. Cool. So if you're a Facebook advertiser, marketer, founder, anything like that, you're most likely running product catalog ads in your Facebook ad account already. Check out Marpipe if you want to basically just put those product catalog ads on steroids.
It's interesting too to see, like you said, companies work with non-athletes or like someone like Nike where it's like, oh, athletes or whatever. And um I think there's that like delicate balance between like working with or having your audience and like the people wearing your clothes or basing your clothes off of or your products off of is like an unrealistic goal or like even just like aesthetic. And then
Mhm.
going into like the more balanced approach of, Nike's not just for
Mhm.
athletic builds or whatever, it's for everyone. And I feel like even though she's like a celebrity, it's cool to see companies like that go into just like everyone. And I actually saw a I don't know how big this was or if it was just kind of like a small like TikTok thing, but they're talking about like aloe, for example, is like they think they went the like too influencery and with like the influencer free gym for in LA and stuff. And it's interesting to see the balance between like, yeah, going from like just working with this type of athlete or this type of influencer to more broad and like obviously she has so many followers and it's a great move. But it was when I saw it, I was like, oh damn, that's crazy. Like it was very shocking.
I think I'm a little more
Yeah.
skeptical, honestly. Go ahead, Bart.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think that's kind of the takeaway is like even in my text threads with friends that don't give two shits about business stuff, or they're just like, "Did you see this? Kim's getting a Nike line." Like the shock of it is kind of like what people seem to be talking about most. And I don't know, it's like Skims is so huge on its own, right? And she could have very easily been like, and I think she already does this, but like have an athletic portion of the business. But no, it's like, let me go partner with like the biggest name in athleisure or just sportswear in general. So yeah, she could have even, I don't know, she could have even stayed on her own. And it also says maybe a little bit about Nike because they've been, I don't, Nike's one of my favorite brands ever, but like they've been in a little bit of a funk over the past year or two, um, with New Balance and Saucony and On Cloud and Brooks and all these other like shoe companies really jumping into the mix and grabbing market share. But you can tell they're doing some great things lately, like with even outside of Skims, like the new Jordan Band campaign, the new Love Hurts campaign with Jalen Hurts. And it's like they've really been knocking out of the park with a lot of campaigns. And then this was kind of the biggest move lately. So whoever their new, I believe they have a new CEO that stepped in, is like really making kind of culture shifting moves and working with the right people.
Yeah, yeah, October 2024, they got a new CEO. Elliot Hill is his name. I mean, just to kind of like backtrack a little bit. So first of all, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just read the Nike Skims, because what they're calling it is like a brand, not necessarily a collab. But to read their like press release, it basically says, or this is, yeah, what Kim said about it. Nike and Skims share a deep commitment to innovation, inclusivity, and pushing boundaries driven by an unwavering belief in the power of women. This partnership is the culmination of what shared vision delivering product that is meticulously designed to sculpt and perform for everybody. Every single detail has been obsessed over and carefully considered. We're incredibly excited to unveil our first collection this spring. So, TBD coming this spring, probably in the next couple months or something like that. I kind of want to like just run back a little bit on this and say, Nike in last year basically hit this point where everybody was like, oh, the downfall of Nike, like basically the sort of the downfall of Nike happened. They lost like, I think in just like one day, their stock took a nosedive, their market cap took a nosedive by like 27 billion in one day. And there was sort of a lot of talk about how they were like, what's going on at Nike? Things aren't like, they've always just been so dominant, and now they're not, or whatever. And I think obviously that led to a new CEO. A lot of people were pretty down on Nike. I think we really, we love like the news. We love the news cycle in business. You know what I mean? So, if we were talking June of last year, we'd be like, well, let me tell you all the reasons why Nike is not working anymore. If we were talking in like, I don't know, Kim specifically, if we're talking in 2008 or 2012, we'd be talking about, why Kim's beauty brand or her original clothing brand didn't work or whatever. Like the Kardashians are not afraid to fail. Like the Kardashians in Jenners, they fail all the time on brands and on product collabs. Skims has done really well. It's kind of like the golden child of their whole group. Kylie Cosmetics was maybe for a second, but Skims has had a little bit more longevity. So I think I'm a little bit more reserved here and a little bit more like, what are you going to put out? Like, what is this product? Is it actually going to have a reason to exist, or is this like a lot of creator stuff that we've talked about, where what we're doing is we're just creating a moment by having somebody with, some level of fame or with a ton of reach, sort of collab on our product or launch a product, like, creatives or creators or influencers launch a product, and then they don't really become, like they're not like long-term really connected to it. It's just a moment. So I think I'm a little more skeptical of it. Anything Nike does, it has to be amazing, because they're the market share leader. I was looking at the athleisure market share, and they're still the leader, even though they've dropped by so much, right? So they can't gain 1% of market share and it be a win. Like, it's got to be like a home run. Everything Nike does has to be a home run. So I think it could do well, but I'm maybe a little more skeptical of it. The one thing I want to call out about it, where you're like, she's kind of unstoppable, I want to call out Emma Grede. Do you know who that is?
I
Emma
don't think so.
Grede is, I believe, the CEO of Skims, or so she's one of these people who I call the guy behind the guy. You know what I mean? Or in this case, the girl behind the girl, who runs the brand, but you've never heard of them. There's these,
Yeah.
they're, I think we've talked before about the people who run Prime Energy. You've never heard of them before, or, I don't know, like, just the person who's like really I think Emma is an exceptional operator, and an exceptional, like, she's doing stuff to make Skims more than just Kim. Like, she did this NBA, deal. She did the NFL deal. So it's like, this is a brand that's more than just Kim Kardashian, which is so hard to do. Like, I look at a ton of creator brands, a ton of influencer brands, celebrity brands, and they're all just always they're tied at the hip to however popular the person is right now. Like, and it's just, it's inescapable. However hot that person is right now, that's how hot the brand is. And it's impossible for them to like shake it. And I think that, Emma Grede, the team at Skims, I think that like the vision of her has been really to like, how do we detach it? Well, we have to attach ourselves to things that are equally as big. So NBA, NFL, Nike. Ultimately, I think this is incredible for Skims. I think this is potentially like not that incredible for Nike, if that makes sense.
I don't know if like other females feel like this, but the Nike apparel, in my opinion, on the female side, like, has never been comparable as far as like fit and like comfortability and just like
Yeah.
everything, compared to like Lululemon or Aloe, or like you get a pair of leggings and like they're falling off of you, and that just, it doesn't feel flattering and stuff. And I don't know if that's still the case, but like, I haven't bought like a lot of like Nike clothes since in the last like 10 years. And so for Nike, I think that like Skims has that like Aloe, Lululemon, like fits nicely, you feel confident, where Nike on the women's apparel side, like, I don't have any, like, I can't think of any of my friends who are like, when I think of women buying Nike stuff, like maybe it's like golf polos, or like volleyball, like spandex or something, and it's like really like sports based on like almost like that high school level, or like it's college, athletes in there, that's like their uniform.
Yeah.
But like for the day to day, I feel like Skims could help. I don't know what it's like this today, but like, at least my brain is like, I'm not going to buy Nike and spend that much money on something when like I can, like, I'm not going to feel confident in it.
Yeah, it might be like you said, it might be like a level up of quality
Mm-hmm.
that Nike gets, and it could be that kind of like product dev partnership that they've been looking for. You're totally right. I've been buying, like, if I buy something for myself on Nike's website, I usually try and get something for Jacqueline too, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
uh she's had a lot of returns, and it's not like, and it'll be stuff that I know she would like enjoy, but on fit and quality alone, like, there's been a lot of returning. And but I've bought her like the boyfriend tee from Skims a bunch of times, and it's like her favorite t-shirt to wear, and it's just got that quality. Same with like Nike has like Nike ACG. That stuff is really like tough and weatherproof, and it's got really good quality behind it. So I'm wondering like if this could be that kind of move for them where they bring in the Skims like product dev to help improve women's apparel in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a chat GPT query. So, take it with a grain of salt, maybe right, maybe not. But athleisure market as of 2023, we don't have 2024 full sales or projecteds from any company yet, but Nike still has, it's like 51 billion versus next highest is Adidas at 23, Lulu's at 9.
Wait,
And
can you ask it to do
just
women's
women,
versus men?
just
Yeah.
women's. I did ask that, and it's about 50% of the market. So
Huh.
even if Adidas owns the whole market and Nike owns none of the market, or like Lulu, even if it's like vastly different, Nike still probably in all likelihood owns most. I did try and get this chart, I could not, but women's is about 49% of activewear, 47% of athleisure, which is kind of surprising. I thought it'd be more in athleisure, but in all likelihood, Nike's just so far ahead of the others that it's still probably the largest athleisure seller, even for women. Um, and I'm not saying that to be like, haha, you're wrong or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just think Nike is what I'm saying, and why I'm saying, like, I don't think it might not be that great for Nike. I think it might not be. I think it'd be incredible for Skims. I just don't think we all fathom how big Nike is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Nike's just on this other level where everything they do has to be so big in order for it to be impactful. So I don't know. I do think that maybe the play here is that I don't know that it replaces maybe their current women's athleisure or activewear, but maybe it creates a higher end line for them.
That's
That
what I'm thinking, is that like Nike probably saw their market share in one category be taken up by these other
yeah,
brands, and that's where they're just trying to like get it back. Because like even like there's all like, even though those brands are so like are not anywhere comparable, but there's like, the Athletes, the Gym Sharks, like all
yeah,
of these like fitness or like higher end, you spend a little bit more, and there's so many brands like going at that market. Viore even.
yeah.
I think Nike also just gave a big middle finger to like, you guys want to work with creators, we'll just sign the biggest one of
Biggest
all
one.
time ever.
Yeah.
And they've done that with like LeBron, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Serena. Like their thing is always getting the
They're the
best
Yankees.
person in their craft. So
They're,
getting
they're,
Kim is like the end game.
they're the Yankees of physical product brands. Okay, so to kind of like I
Yeah.
think make this relevant to maybe a lot of our listeners who aren't playing at the level that Nike is. Uh,
Yeah.
I think it is like use your advantages. So what has Nike done here? They've basically said, what do we have? More money than everybody else and more clout than everybody else. All right, then let's just like partner with who is the most trusted person, who is the most trusted non-direct competitor in the women's category for clothing, Kim, right? And like will also give us like basically they just said, oh, we can just pay whatever price to work with Kim Kardashian and work with Skims on this. And yeah, so it's like use your advantages. If you're not Nike, you've got to be Lulu and you've got to make better product. You've got to be the avatar. The thing about so this is actually something I was thinking about earlier today, and maybe shifts our conversation a little bit. Most really great brands, physical product brands, come from either like pain, passion, or profession, meaning something about it, right? So like the founder or the people who start the product, they know something about it. So this is true of even Nike. The way that Nike started was in running shoes, and it started with Bill Bowerman, who knew a ton about running shoes and about track, and that's like where it started. And then it gets to a point, and this is so like for Dad Gang, a more obvious example here is like Dad Gang. Like right now, Bart, you are the avatar, but in 10 years, you might be like, I don't really know what like dads think is cool from a look standpoint anymore. That's what happens to brands. So when you're Nike and you're like, oh, we don't have that close connection to the market anymore that a new startup is going to have, or even a Lulu is going to have. What do you have to use? You just have to use your weight. You just got to throw your weight around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like your advantage then is just that you're more established. Your advantage when you're in Dad Gang's position or Lulu's position or whatever is that you're closer to the current like trend. You're closer to the current.
Yeah, it's like, are the Paul brothers going to be chugging prime when they're 50 years old?
No,
Probably not. And they'll probably sell it by then, but
So,
still, it's
yeah,
like,
they either have to be so established that they can throw their weight around, or it just like won't be around anymore.
Everybody talks about optimizing their ads, but they don't spend enough time talking about optimizing their overall website, which is something that I think more of us need to spend time doing, and more of us need to spend time thinking through. The reason why most people don't do it is because you actually can't track revenue per element on your site. Heatmap.com does that. And that's something exactly why I love them and why we use it, because it's easy enough for me to use and it's easy enough for us to like communicate what exactly the changes are doing for our people. I like heatmap.com because it specifically drives revenue for us per element that we have. And so there's no real back and forth discussion. It's either going to start to work or we're going to get rid of it because it's tied directly to revenue. Google Analytics, which we all terribly hate, only talks about what's happening on the overall website, not the actual elements within the website. At the end of the day, the only valuable data point that we can gather are the ones that drive revenue. And if you aren't able to track that or update that, you're really wasting your time, which is why we use Heatmap, because we're able to track that specific data and know what optimizations we need to do next. Head on over to heatmap.com, give it a 14-day free trial. Worst case, it's not for you. You don't want to use it. Best case, you find a bunch of money and you make a bunch of money.
yeah, I totally feel that too. It's like like right now I'm, a fairly new dad with a 4 and a 2-year-old, so I can experience all the things. But when like both kids are at school and maybe it's a little less boring during the day and like not as like chaotic,
Yeah.
I probably would need to hire some some
And you're
like
still
30-year-old strategist or something.
yeah, you're still a young enough dad that you kind of know what's cool still.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're 50, you might be like, I don't know if I really have a finger on the pulse of like from a style perspective what dad's like these days, right? So there's almost always, I call him a brand champion. There's somebody who is the avatar for most physical product brands that get any kind of traction. And so it comes from either, for physical product brands, either passion or pain. Usually profession is the other one, right? So you actually like know something about this industry. That would be if you're like a expert in fitness and you like create a fitness product that solves all the problems. This is AG1, right? So what AG1 claims to be is, somebody knows a ton about this and they're like, I see all the problems with the existing solutions, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that another great example of this, I've seen there's a baby brand I used to work with, baby clothing brand. She got like a ton of traction just designing what she really, really liked, but 8 years in, her kids aren't babies anymore. And so she like doesn't really know what moms like from a design standpoint anymore. Like she kind of does, but she starts to feel herself losing touch with it. And so she has to bring in other moms to help her design. There's like a lot of there's a lot that gets lost when you aren't the avatar anymore. And Nike is so far away from that they can't even use the advantage anymore. So they have to just be like, okay, we're the New York Yankees of this bitch. Like we're just going to throw our money around, which is what you do when you're in that position. So you got to figure out where your advantage is. Cool. Do you want to talk? I mean, I guess that was my pick. Zoe, we've got a whole bunch of stuff about soda here. So we got Olipop and we've got Poppy. And this is, I think, kind of parlays into that where like Coca-Cola is doing this thing where they're going to try and launch a competitor. A bunch of people are mad at Poppy. I think you have this really interesting thing going on in beverage, soft drinks right now, where you have Coca-Cola, who's way far away from the time where they were the avatar. Poppy and Olipop are a little closer to the time when they were the avatar, but they're getting big enough now that they're kind of far away as well. And so, yeah, I think we've got, a whole bunch going on right there right now. I think, Zoe, do you want to just kind of like run with that?
Yeah, it was fun to see all of this like craziness with Poppy sending, they sent big celebrities, the
It was influencers,
machines.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Influencers, the vending machines, and people were like really upset that like, I actually am like curious to hear your guys' perspective on it, because I personally am having a hard time like understanding why people are so upset about it, and maybe I'm missing something, but to me it's no different than like Tarte sending the influencers on this like crazy vacation and like to get content, and like to me it was like it's the Super Bowl and they're spending a lot of money, and I think that there's like all like you know, Olipop was making posts that may or may not have been true and using numbers saying it was like costing 25K, but it doesn't actually. And like, just like stirring up a bunch of just like craziness. But in general, I don't really understand the complaints about like influencers receiving these crazy things, because it happens all the time. And like brands are looking for ways to just like be different. And before I heard like all the backlash, I'm like, oh, that's like a great idea, you know, like send a vending machine and like get reactions, and it's this grand gesture and all of that. So, but then people were really upset about it.
To kind of succinctly say like what happened. Poppy sent vending machines, like 25 of them or something. I can't remember how many of them, to influencers, pretty big influencers, for the Super Bowl. Some people got kind of mad about it on TikTok. Basically, I think that the vibe is basically like, why do the rich get richer type of thing. And then Poppy, you know, good, like honestly, good on Poppy for this. They stirred up shit by being like, yeah, 25K each for these vending machines, which is not probably the price of the vending machines. We've learned later, but then like, you know, that number gets quoted and gets circulated and adds fuel to this whole thing. And like a bunch of people on social basically just got mad at Poppy over it. And then a separate thing is Coca-Cola's going to try and launch a prebiotic soda. I think that's unrelated. Maybe we can circle back to that. But yeah, my reaction is like, I thought this was a good campaign. Here's my take on it. I think I wrote this. I was like, this is basically exactly what happened. This was like a pretty good campaign, a pretty smart campaign. And somebody at Poppy was doing their job. And then someone on TikTok made a reaction video to it and was mad about it. Their take was like, this is dumb. You know, why do all these influencers get more stuff? And, you know, everyday people, like, why don't you do it at colleges or whatever? And that video got traction. And then as all social media sort of content creators, like it just copied, the game is copy at that point, especially on TikTok, where you can kind of get traction on any video, even if you don't have a big following. Like this happens on YouTube like crazy. If one idea gets traction, so many people make basically a video about the same topic. This happens on TikTok a ton. So I think that somebody's video kind of hit and got a little bit of traction. And then everybody was like, oh, then the thing is to have that take. I also think TikTok is a strange cultural place where there's a lot of like anti-capitalist, anti-richness sentiment there at the moment. So I think there was sort of like a perfect conflation. I really think the only mistake Poppy made here, maybe that they could have foreseen, was, if I remember right, I think most of the influencers they used were like white girls. So I don't know, maybe they could have tried to be a little more diverse with it. But honestly, I thought it was like a really good campaign, and they kind of got blasted for doing a good job. And net, I bet it ended up being fine for them. I don't know.
Her reaction was good.
Do they normally, like, I don't pay that much attention to Poppy, but do they normally, like, their organic content and the stuff they put out, is it normally with giant influencers?
I don't know.
It wasn't actually. Now I feel like I can't speak to it because now, like, just like it's the typical thing to get like Olipop and Poppy like mixed up, because I'm like, wait, was that Olipop or was that Poppy? Because I'm pretty sure Olipop has like big celebrities.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah, Olipop and Poppy, like, just knowing like behind the scenes of Olipop, they usually like play nice. And so I thought that it was interesting that like Olipop had like this voice that wasn't like this playing nice voice. But usually they like joke around, and they like, you know, they at retailers, they're putting like they're making jokes about like Poppy puts their stuff in Olipop's vending or fridge on accident. And like, usually I feel like they're playing nice. So it was so interesting to see them like not play nice. And I put this video, this TikTok where Vita Coco, I don't know, John, if you could play it, but the Vita Coco made a funny like TikTok on it, and it blew up. And Olipop ended up responding to it, and Olipop was like responding to all of these, you know, everything that was talking about these vending machines. And I don't know if it's like a good look for Olipop or not, but it was so interesting to see them like not playing nice necessarily.
Yeah. So here's the TikTok that Vita Coco did. Let me make sure there's volume on it.
It's got 2 million views, 50K likes.
Oh, wow.
So just to kind of describe what's going on here, they basically just have like a shelf for the audio listeners. They basically just have like a shelf of Vita Coco stuff and like somebody in a Vita Coco outfit. That's
25
our
bucks.
vending machine. It says our vending machine costs $25. We do this right. Or did we do this right? So yeah, I mean, honestly, good on all of these for like, I always say like, you can't create culture. You can't create moments. The best you can do if you're kind of these social media teams is jump on moments. To answer your question, Bart, yes, they regularly collab with really big influencers on content.
Yeah.
I think they've done, you know, a bunch of like activations and stuff like that. And I think both brands do that. And I think if I remember right, both brands have investor groups that include celebrities. So the Poppy investor group might have Hailey Bieber in it.
Okay.
Kevin Love and Post Malone. So yeah, Alex Earl, Kevin Love, Post Malone. Alex Earl gave him an angel round. Russell Westbrook is involved as well. So I mean, a lot of those kind of people are involved in like investor groups that do this kind of thing that are in PE or in like so. And I think Olipop has a similar. Like I think theirs is the one maybe with Hailey Bieber. So pretty normal stuff, honestly. Like the whole thing is very strange. I think maybe the larger thing here is like there's a very real undercurrent to the fact that people were so mad about this. Do you know what I mean? And maybe it's an undercurrent that we can't speak to because it's a little bit more of like a cultural or political undercurrent. But that is what I really take away from this is that like some social media manager at Poppy executed a fantastic campaign and everybody got mad about it because people who have built a following got stuff. And it's like, well, that's like a normal thing that happens.
Yeah.
So I think that there's just like an undercurrent of, you know, maybe the TikTok crowd feels like there's a little bit too much, I don't know, billionaire worship at the moment or something like that, you know?
There's a thing to be said for like, I was thinking about this the other day where like, you know, back in the day with like TV commercials, obviously sometimes we enjoyed watching commercial. There was a point, right? And then nowadays it's like you press skip as fast as possible or look down at your phone for your whatever you're actually watching to come back. And I was just thinking about, and this kind of brings up a point, like, are we getting to the point where a lot of this stuff is a little too obvious? Like the product placement, or whether it's a free box of protein bars or a free vending machine, like maybe that chick's reactionary video was like kind of how people might be starting to feel about some of this stuff where like, okay, enough with I got this free product and you should buy it too. Like maybe some pockets of society or like consumers are starting to feel like, okay, we get it. It's just another ad and you're doing it again. Yeah.
I think that's a good point. All right. So a thing I want to call out here is I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to guess that a lot of these influencers, like the video or content they posted around this was just like here's this thing, right? Because this thing is interesting enough that they just posted this video or piece of content that was like, here's this thing, which is sort of a classic influencer-y thing to do. Like, oh my gosh, check this out. This is amazing. Right. That's my influencer voice. Was it good?
Oh, not bad.
Yeah. Okay.
I could use some work, but
oh my gosh, this is literally it's literally a game changer. I could not live without this.
Yeah, I could
Poppy,
not live. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
Like I would die without this. And
literally obsessed. Yeah.
I would die without this vending machine.
I would die without this. How would I possibly
saved my life?
This is literally a lifesaver. So I think
didn't have to go to the grocery store to get drinks. I don't know what I would have done without it.
Car would have hit me on the way.
So I think that's probably it. What I want to see more of is it's like, okay, if I send you a thing, I want you to make content in your like, this is what I think I said this before to you guys, but it's like, there's a difference between influencers and content creators. And I think more brands should be looking to partner with content creators who just create content in their normal format that people love. And the brand happens to be there. Right. And maybe sometimes it's obvious. Like it is hard to do a big poppy vending machine without being obvious. But if the content creator is creating a football, like a Super Bowl skit, right? If it's like a really popular influencer skit type thing around the Super Bowl is like, the girlfriend skit, right? So if it's people doing, if it's, girls doing like a skit and this poppy vending machine just happens to be part of the skit, like, yes, it's obvious, but I don't care. Like if I like their content and their content is good enough to get traction anyway, like if the content is good enough, I don't necessarily care about the product placement that much. Right.
Yeah.
And if they're funny, they can even make product placement funny. Right. But I think when they're doing that thing that's just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Thanks, Poppy. Love you. That's what's like, this is just annoying, like,
Yeah. And
that's the point.
I wonder if it's getting farther and farther from their mission, because I'm not sure if they had like much. I'm sure it was like part of the campaign of like, let's not drink sugary whatever drinks and let's drink healthy drinks. But that part didn't, if that was part of the campaign, it didn't quite hit, and I think that the farther and farther people get from, or like brands get from their mission, the easier it is for people to like hate on their brand for just like being like the man and like the big brand that has this money to spend and all of that. But I think if there's like going back to like the roots of like Olipop and Poppy and just being like a better for you drink, it's like that doesn't get talked about as much anymore. And it's just like, but that's like the mission that it started with.
Yeah. And I think this is also, there's also some like, we love the news cycle. 1 year ago, literally 1 year ago, Poppy did a Super Bowl ad and everybody was like, that was amazing. They did that, like, this is the moment ad, right? Where they're like, this is the moment where people will like, start from now on looking at pop as like this not healthy thing, right? Or looking at what did they say? Looking at pop soda differently, right? So like they got a lot of praise for that ad within kind of our community. So we love the news cycle, you know what I mean?
Have you guys seen, this is kind of funny, but we brought it up, but have you seen Diet Coke jumping into working with influencers and like super healthy fitness influencers telling people that Diet Coke is a great drink for fitness? And I can't tell if they're trolling or not, but it's like they're going hard. Like I went across some influencer the other day. He's like, if you're looking to like meet your calorie deficit for the day, Diet Coke is a great choice of drink. And then all these comments are like, what about aspartame and all these like
don't worry about it.
Ingredients? And I'm like, is Diet Coke actually doing this for real? Or is this like a Diet Coke doing this, but trolling at the same time? I couldn't tell.
It would be funny if it was like the whole angle was like, yeah, it's got all that shit in it. What did I just say? It's good for meeting your calorie deficit. Like it literally just has 0 calories. That's the only thing going on here. Like it would be funny.
They're not lying.
Their whole campaign. They're not lying. Yeah, I'm not lying. It doesn't have calories.
I love Diet Coke, but I also love all the health. Like I won't drink like drinks that have an enormous amount of sugar in it. So
I don't like to drink my calories.
I would rather eat a cookie if I'm gonna have sugar. But like I love Diet Coke, and when I was I used to do the competitive like bikini bodybuilding, and when I would drink Diet Coke and like 0 calorie energy drinks, and everyone would be like, "Oh my god, like I can't believe like aren't you supposed to be healthy?" And I'm like, it always depends on like your definition of healthy. Like what is your healthy? Like are you trying to be like Whole Foods or whatever?
Exactly.
I'm just trying to like satisfy a craving because I haven't eaten anything like or had anything sweet in like 6 months. So like leave me alone. I'm gonna drink my Diet Coke.
When I was a professional distance runner and people would be like, aren't you supposed to be healthy? Like, how do you eat so much like sugar and stuff? I'm like, the amount of carbs I need is insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't care about sugar. I don't care about like simple carbohydrates at all. Like they all burn. Everything burns. The furnace is really hot. So, I mean, I think you, again, sort of leaning into your advantages here. If I'm Coke, which let's actually, talk about this a little bit because Coke's going to launch a prebiotic soda. But if I'm Coke, you know what I'm doing with Coke Zero and Diet Coke is I'm doing I'm doing like a Shane Gillis collab and a John Daly collab. And it's like, that's my fitness influencer is John Daly. Because he legit, if you don't know who John Daly is, I mean, I don't know. I could pull up a picture. He's not a,
You might be,
he is.
Wait. Zoe, do you know who John Daly is?
No.
Okay.
John Daly is a professional athlete.
Uh-huh.
Every time we bring up an athlete, it's always like, huh?
I don't know. I'm just going with it.
John Daly is a professional athlete. Let's pull up some images of John Daly.
He's the most reckless golfer on earth, but he's also really, really good. And he's been
What do you mean reckless?
Okay, I know you're running a lot of product catalog ads and you're using Marpipe. What are some of the creative tests in your catalog ads that you've noticed that have worked well for Dad Gang?
Honestly, for us, the thing that's performing really well right now is like a three grid breakout of the hat. So a lot of our original catalog ads would just have like the front of the hat showing and not the second image. So being able to showcase like the front, the side, the back of the hat in one ad. The other one, as simple as it sounds, is just like actually putting the price front and center. Like a little red circle that actually shows the price, because our hats are great quality, but they're only $35 compared to a lot of like the similar quality of a hat out there is like $45 to $60. So I think being able to showcase an affordable price in one ad is helping too.
So, and like Marpipe specifically, they just bust out tons of variations of your catalogs and keep testing it.
Yeah, you just integrate directly into Slack with their team, let them know what you're kind of looking for. They bust out a bunch of variations. It connects directly into your Ads Manager account, and you don't even have to do that much within Ads Manager. It's a seamless integration into everything you're already doing.
If you're any kind of brand that wants to put your catalog ads on steroids and get more returns, better returns out of your catalog ads, check out marpipe.com. All right, back to the pod.
Oh, he drinks like a 24 pack of or maybe even like a 30 case for 18 holes.
Here's
like, that's his jam.
Here's some classic John Daly imagery right here. Smoking, drinking Diet Coke, drinking so like he's had multiple bypass surgeries.
Yeah.
He is like, so, but that's what I would be leaning into if I was Diet Coke. I'd be like, here's our fitness influencer, John Daly.
I don't know if this is real, but Theo Vaughn on his podcast said that John Daly, he was partying with him in Nashville, and he says John Daly just has an ambulance waiting around the corner for him when he's done partying. And one night there was an ambulance and he just hopped into it and had the ambulance take him home, even though he's completely fine, but he just has them just in case.
I'd be doing that. Home. I'd be collabing with like Shane Gillis, John Daly, like, and it'd be like, here's my fit. Like, and I would have him do the fitness influencer thing. Like, hey, if you're really looking for a calorie deficit, like that would be hilarious, I think.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think what you're talking about is funny too, because if it is a troll, if it's like, this is a real fitness influencer being like Diet Coke, then I mean, dude, the other people who drink Diet Coke are like skinny Utah moms, right? And they all look good.
Teachers love Diet Coke. But I think that was also like, I don't know if they're going for it, but that was kind of the fun part of the campaign was like, we're all marketing brains. So I'm just sitting there like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm reading the comments. I can't tell if this influencer is being serious. I can't tell if Diet Coke is part of it. It was just all over the place. And I think it's working because of that.
Yeah, I think that's the move. If you're, again, when you're the biggest, you throw your weight around. So that's what they've got to do. If you're smaller than Poppy or Olipop, then you're doing I mean, Vita Coco isn't smaller than them, but yeah, it's like you're looking for moments like Vita Coco did, where it's like, oh, okay, here's a thing that's in this adjacent, category to me that I can make a spoof of, that could be an ad. Like the Vita Coco thing could be an ad. And it can be a piece of organic content, which I think is like really what you're looking for if you're smaller. What do you guys think about Coke launching this like basically competitor to Olipop and Poppy? Do you think it's going to hit, or do you think it's just going to fail? This is what D2C brands always fear, right? Is that it's like, oh, a bigger player with more money could come wipe me out tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm curious too how it happened. Like, do you think that like, do you think that Coke and whatever Pepsi have tried to like buy these brands out and couldn't, so they're just making a competitor, or like they didn't want to, they don't have interest in that, or like I just wonder like what the like, do they think they're going to take them out? Do they just need to take up more shelf space and gain back? Like, I don't know. It's just like so interesting. I'm curious how it tastes, because I think that taste will come down to a lot of it, because I think that a lot of people who drink Coke and then they try like real sugar Coke and they try Olipop, they're like, oh, this tastes like,
No, yeah, it
you
does
know?
not. If
So like,
you
yeah.
drink Diet Coke or Coke, or like if you drink regular soda, Olipop and Poppy don't taste that good. Like
Right. So
it's kind of
yeah.
hard to get them down, actually. Like,
So I think that if there's like, if it, I feel like the taste is going to be a big factor of it. I'm curious. But I wonder how, I think one, like Olipop and Poppy should be like so proud where it's like, holy shit, like,
we created this category.
yeah, we create like Coke is copying us. That's like the biggest compliment. But I think that the people also who drink Olipop and Poppy don't necessarily like want to support Coke. If that, like I think it's like different types of people at the same time.
I
So I
think
don't
so
know.
too. Yeah, I think so too. Do you know what this feels like to me? This feels like Cheetos lip balm. Do you remember that?
Was that like supposed to be like a real
Yeah, that was like a thing that came out in like 2006 or whatever.
it
Like
wasn't
Jolly Rancher did like lip balm, Coke, like Dr. Pepper did lip balm. Lip balm was super popular in the mid 2000s, with whatever the middle school girlies or whatever.
I had root beer lip balm for sure.
Yeah, root beer lip balm. So Cheetos launched a lip balm, and not shockingly at all, it was not a hit. Like flaming hot Cheeto lip balm.
Oh
Not a killer
I don't
product.
think that's the same though.
no,
Like like
but is this?
Yeah. In hindsight, no, of course you don't. But in like this feels a lot like big brand saying, "What's trending right now? Let's do that." You know what I mean?
Is
It gives Cheetos lip balm, as the kids would say.
Is this going to be a Coke product? Like it's going to be called Coca-Cola
Or is it going to be
prebiotic?
a brand? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because like Coke owns Sprite and other drinks. So is it going to be branded as Coca-Cola, or is this going to be
there's a picture? We could pull up a picture. I'm not sure, but that definitely will show. It definitely doesn't have like Coca-Cola. Like it says pop on it and it's colorful. We should pull up a picture, but it's not like your typical where the whole can says Diet Coke.
Yeah.
So maybe that maybe people won't even really like.
Yeah.
know.
Oh, it looks like they're launching it under the Simply brand, like Simply Lemonade.
Oh.
So yeah, because it's Simply Pop is what it is here. I'll pull.
So I think that changes everything. Like how, because if it was like Coca-Cola on the can and then
yeah, so it's gonna be the Simply.
Damn, that just makes me think it's juice.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if they'll have an advantage in like fountain drinks, because you can't get Olipop or Poppy in a fountain drink, but like you can get all of like I think sometimes you could even get you could get like lemonade and like Simply lemonade in a fountain machine. So like, but again, isn't that that's not even their competitor anyways too.
Yeah. I think this feels like they're. Yeah, I don't know if fountain is I think they're just I think they're trying to win because I actually
game.
like most Coke fountains, I don't think have Simply in them. They have they have Minute Maid in them. So I think that they're trying to win ready to drink here.
Huh.
Which in a sense, Coke can win ready to drink because they have the inroads into retail. So it is hard to beat a major player that's like the biggest player in retail. Because those, I mean, the Cokes and Pepsis of the world do actually, like Olipop and Poppy don't have any leverage in retailer negotiations, or they have very little leverage in retailer negotiations. Coke and Pepsi have a lot. So if they want shelf space, they can take it. So I think, again, this could just be Coke throwing its weight around. Like you said, I don't know why they wouldn't just acquire Olipop or Poppy. And I doubt Olipop or Poppy is not being I doubt they're holding out because they're all backed by investor groups. So, you know, an exit is like a good outcome for them. So I don't know.
What's Coke's? Does Coke own a energy drink?
I think so.
Who's their energy? Is it? It's not like Monster's its own thing. Red Bull's its own thing. Like, what's Coke's energy drink?
They just have one called Coca-Cola Energy.
Huh. Yeah, because like in my mind, that would be like a bigger space to, but maybe it's like that's a harder space for them to compete against compared to like these healthy sodas.
Yeah, I think that they just have Coca-Cola Energy. I don't think they have
So that to me is more comparable, like obviously to like, I remember now when this came out, but everyone kind of like tried it, but nobody's drinking it over a Monster or a now like Ghost or Alani Nu or anything.
Well, that's, I think, you know, the rule in food and bev, there's a person who was key in instrumental. One of the co-founders of Factor was also instrumental in a brand called High Key. I've talked to him before. And we've even talked about having him on here. And he said something to me once. He's like, well, the rule in food and bev is that you're going to put it in your mouth. So it's got to taste good, right? Like if it doesn't taste as good, like you only have room for one energy drink in your life, really. Like you've got to go to, and maybe you've got a secondary, but like for me, I have Monster and I have like a few flavors and like there's kind of one main flavor. And like maybe you, Zoe, have like Alani Nu, but and that's your main one. And maybe you've got another one, but like for the most part, people have room for one thing in a category in their life. And so in almost always in food and bev, the winner is going to be the taste winner. Or it's the combination of taste and what you want, right? So maybe there's an energy drink that has calories that I would like more than White Monster, but I like White Monster more because it's like, oh, it's my favorite one that doesn't have calories, right? So
White Monster is such an OG.
Unless you're Red Bull, because like their whole story was that in the beginning Red Bull tasted so bad, and they like doubled down on it.
Yeah, Red Bull is the Olipop and Poppy of energy drinks. They category created here, and they were so far ahead. I mean, Monster didn't come for 5 or 6 or 8 years or something like that until after Red Bull. So just like they're just really far ahead, I think, for first mover.
I'm a Celsius guy myself.
Celsius.
A lot of people switch from like White Monster to Celsius. For a while, Bang was popular. I mean, I think that you can take customers here, but you can't take customers if you don't taste as good. And it's clear that you don't taste as good. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Food and bev is interesting like that. All right. What else we got here? Whose turn is it? I don't even know whose turn it is.
Wait, can I pick a quick one?
Yeah, do it.
I put this on the list, but I didn't want to say that I put it on the list. Bart's Big Fish.
Bart.
Oh yeah.
Your big fish.
I sure do. It's yeah, I just got back from Hawaii and caught a 740-pound marlin on my trip.
How did you get it onto the boat? Like, I know I'm not a fisher, but I'm like, that just seems impossible.
I'm not a fisher.
Yeah, you're definitely not a fisher. I don't think anybody.
I'm not a fisher.
How do you get it on the boat?
Bart's yoked. Have you seen him? He just pulls that thing right up out of the water.
Did you need a crane? Like,
yeah, no, well, yeah, I went charter fishing with my father-in-law and brother-in-law and another family member. And yeah, we were just trolling. So you ride around in a boat with 5 fishing poles in the water. And we were coming up on it was a 4-hour charter trip. So we're just kind of like coasting for probably like 2.5 with nothing happening. And then out of nowhere, like one of the lines, it's connected by like an assisting line. So you can tell when it breaks. So one of the lines like breaks and we designated me as the like guy that sits in the marlin chair if anything happens. And so the line breaks, they're like, fish on. And we see this thing like in the distance, like jumping out of the water. It looks like a dolphin or a shark. It's so massive. And it hooks on, and you have to let the line, go out. You have to let the fish like pull the line as far as possible. And I'm seeing this like $5,000 reel that the charter company has just go down to like the last parts of the line. So like the main line is all clear, and then it goes down to this green line, which means the fish is 500 yards out. So imagine 5 football fields, and we see this thing jumping out of the water. We're like, that's like 1,000-pound fish for sure. And it ended up being 740, which is still so much. But
That's insane.
Big fish.
and then you sit in this chair and you're strapped in, and your pole is in like a locked position in this like holder, and you're just reeling for your life. Like once it stops pulling, you start reeling it in, and then it pulls it out again, and you lose all faith, and then you pull in again, and you do that for way too long. I did that for an hour and 10 minutes, just like drenched, people pouring water on me, people like putting water bottles in my mouth, giving me like bites to eat, to like fight this thing for an hour. Hour 10 was the total.
Wow.
And then,
John, you have to pull up this picture. It was so good. I want to know, you put it on LinkedIn. Like it was so good. You put it on LinkedIn.
yeah, I was like, I spun it a little bit. I was like, I used some of this content for Dad Gang, but really I just wanted to flex my big big edge. But yeah, it was, once it gets to the boat, like close to the boat, you know, you're still sitting in that chair, reeling just in case it like gets any further. And then the two like skippers on the boat get close enough to the fish with like a spear, and then they hook it by the gills, then like bring it even closer to the boat, and they slice its gills so that it like completely stops breathing and bleeds out in the water.
Mhm.
And then you tie like a rope through its gills and its mouth, and it takes like 3 people to pull it on and into the boat. And yeah, we're just sitting there like all in shock. I'm fully exhausted. Felt like I don't know, John, like, you know, the feels of the end of a marathon. Like that's kind of what it felt like. And I was just like, it's so much pain and exhaustion. I'm just sitting there next to it. And then when you get to the dock, they like they put it on a crane and lift it and weigh it and everything. So you guys will see it in my background eventually here. I'm getting it mounted on the wall.
Nice.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Dang,
Yeah,
that
that's
thing
huge.
is, so it's like a
How
couple
tall are you?
feet
How tall are you,
taller.
Bart? 5'9"?
5'11".
Okay.
It
Why
was
did you say 5'9"?
it measured at like 12.5 feet.
That's its
Wow.
nose. Its nose is like from your waist to over your head.
Yeah, they had to saw off the nose because it couldn't fit in the truck.
No way. That's crazy.
I mean, this is
Yeah,
dope, dude.
that's me cranking for my life there.
Yeah.
Wait, so what kind of content did you, any
I
like,
just took that photo right there.
He took the kind of content where he was trying really, really hard not to lose this gigantic fish.
Yeah.
So he didn't have any time to make any content about it, probably.
Yeah,
Wait.
I just took that reeling photo. I shot some other like videos of just the hat by itself, and just, it was an organic post. I just said like, sometimes you get lucky, Dad Gang.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Yeah.
Are you guys not LinkedIn friends? It is. There
Dude,
doesn't seem to be like a
I
connection.
think I sent him a connection, but he hasn't accepted it.
Oh man.
Oh no, I haven't. Bart,
just post.
Bart, I
I
don't
just
understand
post.
your LinkedIn, dude. You post stuff on LinkedIn, but you don't even have a profile photo.
No, he
What are you
does.
doing?
Yeah,
I
I
think
do.
he might be blocked.
Oh, maybe he blocked me because he doesn't like me or something.
Maybe he's, I don't know. Maybe you tried to sass me one day, and I said, no, get out of here.
Probably. Yeah. Who is this guy?
And he's like, you could see my post, but not my profile picture.
No, LinkedIn, I literally post and ghost. Like I just post and leave because I accept people, and then I don't know, like what the rhythm there just sucks. You post something, and then, or you accept a person, and then it's immediate. I'm
Trying to
selling
sell
you
you.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My DMs are closed on Twitter because of that. Everywhere. It's just like,
especially if you're a brand owner. If you're a brand owner and you want to like participate in the community, get ready to get pitched all the time. If you want to be in the D2C community as a brand owner. Okay. I think there is one more thing that maybe I wanted to touch on really quick. Actually, Bart, I don't think you've done anything yet. Yeah. Hit me.
We could talk about physical products and raising investments.
That was the one I wanted to ask about. So
Perfect.
It was based on your post, and this is obviously for Dad Gang, you know, I think it made sense not to raise investment. But like you had posted on Twitter that like you had an investor that was like, hey, you know, talk to me when you hit 1 million, and then you guys hit 1 million a month now, and you haven't talked to him. Which it made me like, I take a lot of calls with e-com brands, operators, and like heads of marketing. And there's a very different vibe between brands that have investors, so stakeholders, board members who are not actively like operating in any kind of operational role within the company, but have a financial stake in it. So specifically brands that have investors and like have a board because they have investors, and brands that like are trying to raise money, and ones that are not, that are bootstrapped. And I mean, I think that my initial thought on this is obviously like, seems less stressful to be bootstrapped.
Yeah.
That's obviously the route you've gone, Bart. I think that's the route Breeze went as well. Do you think there is a case to be made for raising? Well, okay, Zoe, did Chomps or Ghost, the two brands that you worked at before this, do you know, or before you went on your own, do you know if either of them raised?
I want to tell you some things that we were learning about the Breeze website that was costing us a bunch of money that we actually didn't know until we installed a heat map. On our product page, we have bullet points that looked like buttons. We had elements that looked like buttons that you actually can't click. And we were finding out that we were literally losing money because the navigation was so unclear that to the thousands of dollars, because of the amount of traffic we're spending, we weren't able to find success. And so heatmap.com was able to kind of highlight and tell us exactly where these users were clicking. And we made that immediate change. Then we saw on the heat map that like we had product tiles where people were navigating to kind of add to cart or learn more about the products. It's too far down on the page, but majority of the revenue is starting and driven from those specific tiles. And by us just moving those up the page so it's less of a scroll on mobile, we're able to drive almost 2 times the revenue from the same exact amount of traffic. That, again, was only coming from heat map. I think that's super powerful because it's able to track specific dollars per element on your website, and no other thing in the world can do this. Not that I know. And so this is why it's easy enough for me to use or our CRO to use. There's no negotiation. There's no back and forth. It's either making us money or it's losing us money. And it's the reason why I'm super thankful for the heat map team to be a part of this crew. And if you want to try it for 14 days, free of charge, worst case, doesn't work for you. Best case, you make a bunch of money, you save a bunch of money. It's a win all around. Hope you guys try it out.
Chomps was bootstrapped, I believe, until and everyone should go listen to the guy How I Built This to get the real thing. But I know that they needed to raise money to fulfill the Trader Joe's PO that came out of nowhere. But that was like easy because it's like, oh shit, we don't have enough money to even like fulfill this PO. So I know that they raised money like in that, but I think they might have been bootstrapped before then. And then while I was there, they raised a bunch of money and they got a board, which was such an interesting shift because it became less startup-y feeling and more like corporate-y feeling. And then Ghost, I want to say they were bootstrapped, but there was like smaller investors, but nothing crazy.
What's your thought? Like, would you rather have been in that? I mean, it sounds like it enabled you guys to grow, you know, to fill a PO that I think there's a little bit of a difference between raising money to fill a giant PO that you're like, we have this PO and we can't fill it without the cash. That also is a strange raise because you probably could get the cash other ways. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know a ton about finance, but you could probably draw that out.
You could show a bank that the PO's right there.
The PO. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, also, like, I think that we forget that, like, these aren't, like, people who have done it before, you know? Like, a lot of founders, like, we say that now, but, like, I think that in the point, you know, you learn so much as you go, and, like, you don't know that you can do certain things. Right. Or there are reasons why, or, like, I think, like, I think Pete shared that he, like, went, like, bankrupt before. So, like, maybe, like, there's, like, yeah, like maybe they couldn't. So, but I personally think that investors are well, my problem is I hate reporting to people, like more so, not that I like having like good leaders and good mentors, But when I hear people like complaining about having to like present to their board or present to the investors, like that they have like these asks that don't align with the brand, or they're like, it's like your brand, but you have to like report to other people. I wouldn't like that. So for me, like if I was to like, cause I want a brand one day, and there's like things in the works, and I would rather like figure out how, I don't know. I just like don't want to report to people who like don't like, it's my brand. Like I want to do what I want kind of thing.
I think the obvious case for bootstrapped is that it feels like, you know, you can have a little bit more of a lifestyle with it. It doesn't have to be this crazy home run outcome. You can build Bart, like if you built Dad Gang into a whatever, $20-30 million brand, you could make a nice living off of that, not have any pressure to keep growing if you don't have to, and make it nice and profitable. And I think that is, for most people, probably like a better case scenario. I suppose maybe I'm looking for the bull case for raising. Can anybody make the bull case for raising here?
I'm with Zoe on this one, like, and I'll dumb it down even more. I hate being told what to do, and like especially when you're building your own vision. So it's like, just like, I have this thing I want to build, and then for some guy or girl or whoever to like come in and say, this is what I want you to do based on these numbers and projections. Like, okay, well, that sucks. Like, I just really don't want that kind of rhythm to our business. And that's why like we even like took that call, because it was like interesting earlier when we were building Dad Gang, and it was like, oh, whoa, somebody wants to talk to us about helping us grow this thing. And then it was like, it was kind of a cocky, like flexy call where it's like, oh, talk to me when you do this. And it's like, all right, cool. We'll talk to you never. But at the same time, it's like, I being on the agency side of marketing and stuff, I just dealt with way too many CEOs and CMOs that were way too stressed out on what numbers we were hitting because of the outside pressure they were getting from investors. And it was like, sometimes when you're working with an agency, I don't think you should be telling them that you're there to please their investors. Like that's a whole nother barrier that maybe you should keep to yourself sometimes, because you're showing them that you're stressed because of the stress they're putting on you.
Yeah.
But I have seen it go well too, where it's like a unique, promising idea that is a little different in the market, and you don't have any funds to get it started, but it's promising enough that you do have some like trusted investors that can hop in, and you can maybe pre-establish that your relationship isn't going to be this kind of like controlling, I gave you the money, so I control what you do type of vibe. So maybe if you can pre-establish that, like what this is going to be like if you give me money type of relationship, that'd be great. But I know that's also very, very tough to do, because they are giving you cash. So
Yeah, I was just looking at brands that we were talking about Skims earlier in the episode. Skims raised a seed round of 5 million, which is interesting because they could have self-funded 5 million probably in 2019 when they raised that seed round. So I suppose that's part of it. It's just like, why use your own money to try, to launch something or try something. They raised a Series A in 2021 of 154 million. So that was once they had product market fit. Series B of 240 million. But they're So I suppose cash becomes a major, when you're trying to play a really big game. I suppose that cash becomes a major thing. I think what you said, Zoe, is interesting, where you're like, these are people who've never done it before. I'm like, I don't think I would ever advise a founder who hasn't done stuff before to raise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think if there's like investors who it's like they have also something to, like, it's like your typical like Shark Tank, like you're going to let one of them invest, or you're going to give them 1% of your business because they have these connections. And like I'd probably go on Shark Tank and raise whatever 100K just to get the episode, and get like whatever. Like it has to be for me. I'm like, it has to
you gotta be
more
bringing
than
more than
just
just
the
money.
Yeah.
More than just money to the table.
Because like if it's just the money and then also to be told what to do, I'm like, I would just like rather use my own money and tell myself what to do. Not that I also I've been starting to do like angel investing, and just like even just working with some of our clients who are like raising money and trying to cut budget here and there, and like letting people know like, hey, like if you're trying to, if they, instead of cutting budget in CX, like we can give you some time for, some shares or stocks and stuff, or options. And like, for me, when I'm giving people like my little itty bitty checks that I'm like, I'm not going to, like, I couldn't imagine like it's their brand. I mean, I guess if I was giving them millions of dollars or like a large stake, it matters more, but I just want to see people succeed. And I want to be there to like help them do that. So rather than like demand that they do that.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. I think the most healthy brands that I see are brands that maybe don't have, so this is the biggest thing I see from investor-backed physical product brands. And I think maybe it's also maybe a little bit different if your major play is going to be retail, right? So if you're a food and bev brand, your major play is ultimately going to be retail. It might be a little bit different. Like you might just need more money to produce, but like, I don't know. I think brands like Breeze, Royal Bread, stuff like that are proving that it's like, we can just launch this D2C self-fund, that and still be a food and bev brand. I think that it does a couple things. One, it splits your focus. So you have CEOs or operators who are just as focused on raising money as they are on like the brand. Two, investors always want to see, they want to see numbers regardless of what the market actually has available for you. So oftentimes you find yourself pushing against like really swimming against the current, trying to hit certain numbers that the market doesn't necessarily have for you. Whereas I think a lot of the brands that basically, when the market has tailwind for them, they grow fast and they acquire. And when market doesn't have tailwind for them, they slow down and they're okay with that. Those are the brands that I see being like, those are the brands that if I were an investor, I would want to invest in, because they would be spitting off regular profit share. Like they would be spitting off regular distributions. They're the most profitable brands. They're the brands that are growing like both fast and profitably. But the brands, like almost all the brands that are getting investment, seeking investment, and have investment are the ones where I wouldn't want to invest in them, because I'm like, I actually just don't have this. I don't think this has as much legs as these bootstrapped brands. Like this isn't a brand I would want to buy. So I think that maybe part of it is that a lot of the founders who are looking to raise because they have some other problem, right? Like they have a cash problem because they have some other problem, a product market fit problem, or they can't grow fast enough. The market doesn't have growth for them, whatever. And so maybe that's like really jading my view here. I also think, there was a time where investors, like in the Allbirds era, when they raised money, people were thinking about physical products the way they think about software in terms of multiples. I think now we're pretty clear that physical products don't have that same level of multiple. So it's probably a little bit right direction there. But just like that expectation was just always it was never going to get a 12x multiple. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know, for me, I don't think I would ever raise for a physical product company. I might raise for a software company or something else, but if you're Shark Ninja, if you're trying to actually do something innovative and you have to hire in engineers to do it, you're going to have to. Like if you're Shark Ninja, that you're going to have to raise. I just think you're only playing a really big game then.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know enough. I don't understand it to the point where like I would want to do that.
I would say almost always they shouldn't raise.
Yeah, I've been on the other side where they're like for a brand where the CEO was spending all of his time raising, and it was like, okay, you guys focus on this, this, and that. All I'm gonna do is raise for the next year, and then it was like, all right, we got this check from this person, this check from this person keeps coming in, and then like, but the brand isn't doing that well,
but they still have this directive to like, investors want to see this. So then you end up operating the brand based on what investors want to see instead of what's best for the brand.
Yeah, and then you kind of just go overload on raising, and then it's like, hey, this company has to make money, right, in order to like even get more funds if you are raising. So I don't know. I think that cycle can get a little dangerous because you do say you are just starting a brand, you've built other stuff before, and you have a good reputation, and then you get some cash. and then you can kind of get hooked on the feeling of being able to get that cash to start something. And then you just go into this repetitive thing of like, okay, well, that was kind of easy. I'm just going to raise more money. But then you end up with all of these outside responsibilities that you probably didn't build your company to do. So
yeah, I also noticed that companies that have raised physical product, that companies that have raised are often more bloated from a personnel standpoint, less scrappy from a personnel standpoint, and more wasteful with their spending on
That's what I was
advertising.
gonna say. I think that sometimes I think about it like going to college. Like I wasn't able to get loans because I didn't have like a cosigner or a like I just couldn't get loans. I got like a couple grants, but it was like not enough to go to school, and so I would have to go. I'd have to work to pay for school out of pocket, and that's just like how my brain works. Because I'm like, oh, cool. Now I don't have student loans. Where like if I was able to get student loans, I just would have gone to school, partied, got my degree. But like I worked so hard just so I could like pay for my classes out of pocket. And like, but when you think about like people raising money, it's kind of like it'll pay your salary. So you don't have to like worry about, figuring out where to get the money. So I think I'm like, oh, well, if I could raise some money to like at least pay myself so I could focus on the brand, but not focus on raising more money. But like, I can see it if it's like you want to pay for employees, but at the same time, I think that you can, if you're scrappy and you have like good people, or you know your vision and your mission is there, that you don't necessarily need the 100K 200K salaried like experts who aren't willing to do the work anyways.
Yeah, I also think that, like Bart, the proof of concept was that it could make enough for him to leave the job that he was at and do it full time, right? So it's like that's proof of concept that this brand has legs. So I think there's like a very good sort of like bar there, if that makes sense.
yeah,
But I do see physical products going more the way of tech, more and more the way to tech. It's easy. Like it used to be this very scrappy internet marketing type of industry. I do think that people are like, it's getting so overcrowded that D2C especially, that I do see probably more people trying to like actually innovate on products and raise money to do it. I don't know if that's going to be good. I kind of don't think it is, but I don't think it's going to like work out great for those people who are. I've yet to see somebody raise for a physical product company and it like really works out incredible for them. I think that's what it is. So I don't have like a lot of use cases of that. I suppose at Ghost it did, or at Chomps it did. So maybe that's it.
Yeah, but it's like different. It wasn't like this like create this like
Basically funded a PO.
Yeah. And maybe I'm getting the story wrong. There's a good podcast on it, and they also like failed before, like they learned so much, and it was always so scrappy even before that. And like while I was there, and still even like today, they operate pretty like scrappy. So yeah, I just feel like a lot of people I think are chasing that like that acquisition and that sale. And I don't think that it really needs to be a rush, in my opinion, of like, you make some money and you're able to use that money to like make some more money, where like these people are like, well, give me the money and I'll take it and make a bunch of money. But like,
I think most people want entrepreneurship for freedom. If you raise money, you don't have the freedom kind of.
No, you lock yourself down immediately, and it's like
you've got a job. So I think the only real reason to do it is if you're like trying to be a billionaire. Like if it's like, if you're trying to be a billionaire, you have a very limited number of ways to become a billionaire. So yeah, maybe then it makes sense to like raise money for a company that you think could be $1 billion plus company.
there's also something to be said for like the aura of it. Like raising money is like this cool thing, or it was a cool thing for a while. Like all of the business publications would be like, this round, they raised this round. And then everybody got obsessed with raising. And it was just kind of like this, I don't know, there was like a popularity behind just even the term of raising money. And then you kind of like, the business bros out there would just kind of overuse it. And then
Yeah.
you sometimes hear things so often that you start thinking it's the only path. And then you're raising money, then you're cornered, then you're out of money. And like speaking from personal example, it was just kind of like, hey guys, do you have $250 each that we can throw into this thing to make some hats? All right, let's go. And let's not listen to anybody. And let's just take any money we make and make more hats with that money.
Right.
And then once we make a little bit more, maybe we can run ads. And then once we can run ads, maybe we can order more hats. It's just like, and like Zoe's saying, like, what is the not the video game, but what is like the need for speed, right? You just kind of, if you can live your life, build a happy business and like keep going at your own pace. Like, I don't know. I think greed gets in the way. I think ambition and like listening to too many people gets in the way. And then you're just kind of like, oh man, did I really raise money for myself, or was I just doing it because it sounded like the right thing to do? And I'd rather take that comfort of building at your own pace any day.
We love the news cycle and we want to be in it, right?
That's the theme of this pod.
Yeah, everybody loves the news cycle. All right, cool. This was a good one, guys. I think that's that. I think that's the episode. Cool. Yeah, handles, if you guys want to follow us, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that stuff should be in the description of the video. Please subscribe. Please like the video, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Should e-commerce, somebody make the bull case in the comments? How about this? I feel like we all kind of landed on the bear case for raising on a physical product company. I'd love for somebody to make the bull case for raising on a physical product company in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong. And we'll see you guys next time.